Session of the Board of Education. This is Joe Cilio, President of the Board of Education speaking. Thank you for attending in person or through Zoom. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Due notice of today's meeting has been served to all members of the Board of Education pursuant to the requirements of law. Tina, would you please take attendance? Present.
Present. Present. Present.
Ms. Gaffney is present. She'll be joining us shortly.
Present. 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 Present.
May I have a motion that the Board of Education accepts the agenda for September 19th, 2023, regular session as presented?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. This time, Mr. Cappy, would you do the treasurer's report?
This is the treasurer's report for July 2023. We had a cash balance at the beginning of the month of 57,978,882. During July, we had receipts of 825,938. We had disbursements totaling 6,434,100, leaving us with a closing balance of 52,370,720. Thank you.
Dr. Sinha, would you please provide your update?
Sure. I wanted to start off by recognizing one of our students who's here today. Her name is Emily Nori, and for her beautiful artwork on our calendar, which is right here. This is the artwork, and we had many submissions, and this is what made to all of our calendars, all of our home community members have this. So, Emily, would you just come up here? We want to recognize you and thank you. Ms. Hauser is also here. Ms. Hauser, coordinator of art. Why don't we go over here and get a picture taken here?
Can she tell us a little bit about herself? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Give her a mic.
A little nervous. Here we go. Let's give her that. Tell us a little bit about it.
I don't really have anything to say.
Well, what grade are you in?
12th.
12? And are you an artist? Or
Yeah.
A hobby, or do you want to be an artist?
I'm planning to go and do it professionally.
What was the inspiration to the picture that you wanted? Anything stand out for you?
I wanted to go with like materials you'd see in a classroom.
That's
school.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Well, thank you for your
Congrats.
submission. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention, this year we had to order additional calendars because our community members, they love having our calendars, and actually we were running low. So we just ordered more. So anybody who needs a calendar, they can come to the district office and we have some there. So which is really nice because your pictures on all of them. So very nice. I also wanted to actually, a couple more recognition. Our students aren't here, but we have 10 of our students who have been nominated for the semifinalists for the 2024 National Merit Scholarship Program. And those students are Julia Shershiver, Owen Conway, Ryan Lawson, Tyler Macaulay, Tara Murphy, James Nagler, Armin Pantaki, Emma Rathberger, Layla Smith, and Emily Wang. So congratulations to those students. And then just one other one, last year with our lacrosse boys and girls, the championship, just recent, but after school opened, Don Clavin, Councilman Thomas Mascarella, Town Clerk Kate Murray, and Receiver of Taxes Jeannie Driscoll, they presented us with the banners for both of the teams, which was really nice. And that will be up, up on our wall somewhere. I'm sure Mr. Ramirez is going to have that up for us. So that was very nice that they came to present that to us as well. And I also wanted to recognize this evening, we have Ed Washer, who is our, at Hemlock, our security personnel, and Melanie O'Done, our principal. And, I had sent a letter home to our community with an incident that happened at Hemlock where there was an intruder trying to come into the building. And because of our safety measures with the doors being locked and, and again, I go back to the situational awareness, people really keeping an eye out on who's out there, this person was not allowed to come, we didn't allow him to come in, but looked suspicious. And very quickly, both Melanie and Ed, they called our Garden City Police Department, and this individual was apprehended because they were actually looking to avert the police because of a theft, in a nearby store. So, it just really reminds us the importance of safety and the protocols that we have in place, and how it's everyone's responsibility. So I did ask them to come today so they can be recognized for their good work.
So it was right after I got off of work. I went in my vehicle, and all of a sudden there was suspicious male that came up was walking down the walkway, right to the door, pulled on the door, walked back to the sidewalk, turned around, went to the other doorway, pulled on the door, contacted Melanie. She called Garden City Police Department. I stopped him to talk to him. He took off. I followed him down to Old Country Road. By that time, we had a short interaction with each other, and then Garden City and Nassau pulled up, stopped him, arrested him. He was wanted for a crime in progress. He stole from Barnes and Nobles on Old Country Road. So he was with three other people. They caught the three other ones. He was the fourth one. He was trying to get away. He was trying to hide in the school. I mean, thank God he didn't get into the school, but that's why you got to lock the doors and keep the windows shut,
Thank you. We appreciate both of your work and.
And I'll say, I know this, but a lot of people don't, cops are always cops. They never go home. They're always cops when they're home. So we appreciate that you carried that up into this role. But if you talk about locking doors, if you ever see and pass around to the guys, the principals are happy to have you. I'm on those meetings. They have them attend. So if you see things that we're not doing right, speak to the principal, speak to your building principal. I'm sure we are, but some things go unnoticed sometimes. Thank you.
And I would add one other thing, because I have parents say this: if you see anything suspicious, please alert either the cops or the district office or the school principal, because there's always eyes and ears out there. And so this is a great job by the team. But if you do see something in general, please alert people. So you'd rather be safe than sorry. And the GC police are great about that. So please keep that in mind.
I have a couple of more items to report on. I just wanted to mention at our middle school, this past week, we, at our back to school night, we had, a medical emergency, and there were many staff members and several of our parents who assisted that night. And we really want to thank them all. And it's, that's the beauty of Garden City. Everybody just really comes together and to assist. And I also want to thank the EMT and the Garden City Police Department for assisting us. Again, with this family, but our entire community came together in that way. So that was very nice. And the individual who was affected is doing much better. So, which is good. I also wanted to, a couple of more items are, this is actually our first regular meeting. So our school opening went well. We had, the only challenge was what we discussed last week was the heat. The weather was quite hot the first week. And at the work session last week, we had discussed about what are some ideas that what we can do for our primary schools. I hope to report back on that to the board in October's meeting. We're looking at some ideas in that area. I also again want to thank for our school opening the support of the Garden City Police Department in helping us. They do a tremendous amount for us with the school opening. So thank you to them. Our back to school nights have begun. We have Hemlocks was just last night, and the high school and middle school the week before, but the rest of the remaining of our buildings will have that this month. The Special Education Advisory Committee is a committee that we're forming. I had put it in, we had posted in GC News. I'll be probably sending another letter out so that we're looking for parent volunteers to volunteer for that committee. And our focus of that committee, it's a K through 12 committee, and the focus will be on really sharing the programs that we have K through 12 amongst all of our stakeholders, and looking at more effective ways to enhance our communication, again, with our stakeholders, with our parents, staff members, and even our students. So I will be putting a letter, I'll be sending a letter later this week to solicit more parent volunteers for that. And Ms. Barbera and Ms. Hand will be co-facilitating that committee. I also wanted to mention, this week I received 2 communications from parents around reading, because there was a recent article that was out in the newspaper, and a whole question around, what materials are we using? We do use the units of study, selected units of study from Teachers College, amongst other things in our comprehensive approach to reading. And the focus of those selected units are on reading comprehension. And we provide explicit teaching or instruction around phonological awareness and phonics through our word study programs like Foundation, Heggerty, Words Their Way. And, it's important to recognize that all components of reading are important part of that reading instruction. And there is not one program that meets the needs of all students. So we have really worked very hard, even this summer, enhancing, we purchased decodable books that goes in line with the foundations for our students at the primary level. So, I wanted our community to be aware of that because there's stuff out again in the media around reading. In line with that, we have a webinar coming up in literacy and mathematics on literacy and numeracy, I should say, on September 28th, where Ms. Kaufman and Ms. Cardella will be facilitating that webinar. And our parents will hear more about both topics in that webinar. I also, and during that webinar, both of them will also go over all the information we have on our website under parent resources around literacy and numeracy, or reading, our approach to reading and mathematics as well. And then items on the agenda, we have the budget calendar. That's on the agenda. And once that's approved, it'll be on our website. We have another item on the agenda that's for the board to consider, is the child safety zone. We reviewed an area that is walking distance to Homestead. School is south of Stewart Avenue, that intersection at Clinch Avenue, that qualifies as a child safety zone. And that's per the State Education Department, education guidelines. And this is under the purview of the board as there is no additional cost to the district. If at some point this action would have an additional cost associated, then the decision would need to go before our voters. And in addition to that, there are several other appointments on the agenda, some agreements. And I also wanted to mention our homecoming date is October 21st. I know originally on our calendars, it was October 14th, but it is October 21st. And we'll be sending out additional details, timing, we'll have the parade. It's always a wonderful day in Garden City, the homecoming parade with the football game. So we'll share that with you. There is a policy for first reading on the agenda under corporal punishment. And that is really amendment that the state has made, putting more guidelines in. It's there for the first reading. And let me just see if I can give you the highlights of that. Here it is, yeah. It's really to add some language, and we have this policy, so it's really to amend it, that the definition is includes aversive interventions, prone restraints and seclusion as part of this policy. It prohibits the use of corporal punishment, aversive interventions, prone restraint and seclusion. And it has some additional language around the reporting and the timeline for reporting to parents if there's anything like that in our schools that we use with our students. So that's there for the first reading. That's it.
Maybe just from the board, I want to reiterate the special ed committee seeking volunteers. I think we're working on scheduling that would allow the meetings to take place at times that maybe work for folks who work. We're targeting kind of early evening time, and Ms. Barbera is going to spearhead that and hopefully get it out to everybody, but don't be deterred from applying if you're worried about timing. It should be sometime in the evening for most of those meetings. And I'd also like to mention Trustee Panu and Trustee Janeco will also be a part of that committee. Maybe just a question for me on some of the literacy and numeracy stuff. Do we have stuff on our website? I believe the answer is yes, but I just want to refresh for parents to reference, to resource, if they ever have any questions that maybe they want to do some self-work before they, approach the teacher or otherwise for planning.
Yeah, we do. It's under parent resources right on the website on both literacy and numeracy. That's something extra that both Ms. Kaufman and Ms. Cardella will go over during the webinar. And our goal is after the webinar to post the webinar for our parents as well. But it's right under parent resources.
So that was my second question. Then the last thing I would note is, I know not everybody was able to listen or attend the meeting, but we did add the plans for the extension to the high school and some of the capital projects that we're working on to the website. So if people are interested in looking or reviewing, please check out our website. It's there, and hopefully in plain sight. I believe it is for everybody.
It is. What we did was posted all the presentation that was given last week around the projects for the bond. It is it's right in front, right on the main page. It says the bond, and once you click on it, all information that we review will be posted right on there. It's also on our Board of Education website as well on the board page.
And I would note that those are still some preliminary estimates. They're in directionally correct, but I know they're going to be refined, and there's some things that we're looking to add and subtract just as part of that process. And Mrs. DiCaprio will walk through at some point the bond process for everybody, but we're still working on that. It's going to be a timeline, so please pay attention to that if you have interest in that. And the community will probably be looking to vote preliminarily sometime in February on that. So please keep track of that, and hopefully we can get everybody out to vote.
If I can just add one thing about so any information that will be related to the bond, it will be always reviewed at a public meeting before it gets posted on the website.
Yeah, we'll be talking about this probably pretty regularly for the next couple of months, but I just wanted to make people aware that it is coming and that they should review. And if they have any comments, please come to the meeting or reach out to the people up here. We can get you answers. So appreciate that. On the child safety zone, I know the area, it's definitely something we should do. It's it's a tough crossing. There's no natural crossings in that area. So I think that makes, sense from where I sit. I actually grew up in that area and I know it's not a great place to cross. Does anybody else have any questions from the board for the administration?
I would just, President Silly, I would just like to comment on the literacy program that Dr. Sinha was referring to, the article that was released by the New York Post about referring to New York City abandoning Teachers College at this point. The board and the administration have had discussions about Teachers College. And personally, I feel, and just discussing it with my colleagues and the administration, one of the major issues that the cities seemed to experience was in certain cases, there were not adaptations or scaffolding made to the particular program, to Teachers College. It's a type of program that does not embrace phonics-based learning. So one of the things that we are absolutely working towards in the district here is really we have a lovely data program, and we're beginning to roll out, and we are going to really work in a lot of the teacher feedback as well as what's going on with the children while they are test taking, and then the in-class data as well. And we will make the necessary adjustments to our curriculum to make sure that it's meeting the needs of all of our learners. Also too, I know that there is some concern about, since the Teachers College is going to be moved a bit away from that, the books that will come in to replace will be, they're going to be screened by administration to ensure that they are properly aligned.
Thank you. Does anybody else from the board have any questions or comments this time? Other questions from the board on any of the agenda items?
None.
Are there any citizens' questions or comments? I think most of the people in the room I know. So if you have any questions, please come up to the mic, state your name and address.
Oh, hi, I'm Eileen Comerford. I live at 138 Kildare. I have two topics. The first is from last week, the air conditioning. I'm sure you've already asked, and one of the things about when you come is you guys already ask 1,000 questions before we all arrive. Is there any way to incur a fine and put the air conditioning in anyway and sort of deal with New York State later and possibly sue them for like the fine that they, instill? My second topic is my favorite topic, which is special ed. I was here a lot last year talking about the change to the COTAL classes. So the changes were made, even though I am sad. I spoken to Dr. Sinha many times, Mr. Hartigan, but over the summer, I still had the same feeling that I was dissatisfied with the change and with sort of the thought behind it. And not to mention the treatment of the people in the COTAL classes who I think were told very poorly of the rollout. So I'm coming again to ask for two things. One would be getting the special education teachers a mediator, someone that would be not myself, not Dr. Sinha or the principals, who they could actually tell the truth to on what they actually feel about the changes. And maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. Maybe they'll all think it's a wonderful idea and that they have never been happier having more people and more responsibilities, and, then shame on me. But I feel uncomfortable that if they say that they're having a difficult time with it or disliking it or feeling like they can't do anything for the kids already in the class, that the COTAL group that they've already been chosen for, that they would never say that, because why would you tell your boss you can't do your job? You would not do that. So I would like something put in place for them to speak about that, because over under my big concern is that their divided attention takes away for something you could have been doing for Keegan. And children in co-taught classes are not unteachable. They are going to continue on with life, and my son is going to lead a productive life. He's going to have a job. He's probably going to go to college, and maybe he won't. Maybe he'll go to a trade school, but he has the ability to be something. And I feel as if every effort should be made and allowed for. So my mediator is my first request. My second request is that that someone on the board sort of becomes a special education expert. Because when you're the parent, my children are the most important thing to me, as all of your children are. We all feel the same. But a special ed parent has different concerns than a regular education person has. I've had 3 children who have had 3 totally different needs, who have all needed something. And my job is to get it for them. And most important, my job is to explain to you why I need it. And my experience in Garden City has always been, and I shared this with Dr. Sinha today, that there wasn't anything I asked for my 3 children that was not given, that was not needed, that they weren't better for. And every person who came in contact with my older daughter, we were talking about today, was born with one hand. And every child's better for having been with her. And I would really appreciate if we could have someone be a little bit of an expert and try to sit in the skin of a special ed parent, because this is the first time that I've really felt like that I'm still unhappy. I mean, I'll say it flat out. These are the children that every accommodation should be being made for, not taking away. And my last thing, and I'll sit down, I promise, is that I would really love you to believe in the model of the co-taught classroom and understand that it's nothing we should be eliminating. We should not have a kindergarten 1. We should not have I feel like they should be at least 1 in every grade, if not 2, and understand that for the children who need different help because they learn differently, to have them removed all the time is a stigma. And I know from my own son that people in kindergarten and first grade did not even know who he was. And I had children being like, literally in his class saying to me, no, I don't think he's in my class. And he is. But when you're not there half the day, it makes perfect sense why nobody would know who you are. So I really want to just reiterate the importance of the model and the mediation, and maybe an expert, someone that maybe we could, send our emails to, just so you could understand what it's like to be us. So thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you. Maybe just quickly on the ACs, I'm not going to ask Mr. Spencer real time, but I don't think there's a way we can put, make changes to the school, at least on the air conditioning question, the way it's being asked.
Right. So the issue is that you'd be engaging in an unlawful act whereby you know that you're going to incur a penalty, a financial penalty for it. It's in essence a gift of public funds.
Okay, so I assume that was the answer, but thank you for. I mean, legally, we would be liable, the board would be liable for making such a decision, knowing what we know.
Correct. Correct. So it's not unlike what happened during COVID, right? So when you had certain districts coming out and refusing to, at least initially, refusing to engage and undertake the guidance that was being mandated by the state, the threat was that they were going to either remove you as board members or impose financial restrictions on you in terms of aid and the like. So it's not unlike that scenario if you are going to go out and voluntarily engage in conduct, which you know to be in violation of the law.
And I would say this, I know Dr. Sinha just said this, but we are working through a plan which we think will help alleviate some of this. Thankfully, right now, the weather's cooperating and buying us some time, but I think we'll have something more in the coming weeks for everybody. Maybe a workaround to some of the issues that Mr. Spencer alluded to, and some of the stuff that we talked about with Triton last week in terms of PBS, I'm sorry, in terms of state requirements and making changes to the school facilities. As it relates to the special education mediators, we can have a conversation. I don't have an opinion on that, but I'd have to think about that and discuss with Dr. Sinha and Mr. Spencer, and maybe even the GCTA about something like that. I don't know if that process works, but it's noted. So I would say that. And then lastly, just in terms of board expertise, I'm not a special education expert, but we do have Trustee Janeco, who works in the New York City schools and has a very good grasp on a lot of these special education matters. And Trustee Gaffney also has experience in administering cases from a legal perspective and a school perspective. So we do lean on them heavily when we have discussions that aren't in public, that are private in nature, obviously related to individuals that shouldn't be discussed in public. So if you do have questions, feel free to send it to the entire board. We all see it, but they definitely understand and ask a lot of questions and work with the administration to try to address, your concerns as best we can. Sorry, I was just going to ask for more questions.
Sorry. Angela Muta, 117 Kingsbury, for anybody that doesn't know. So Artie, I wasn't going to speak tonight, but you prompted me. I'm sorry. This is concerning data. When looking at the balance of my checkbook indicates that my funds are low, is it more important for me to get a deposit into my account or to cover the bills or extrapolate the data of my checkbook to see where I'm overspending? The truth is there is a need for both, but making that deposit takes precedence. So too, when dealing with children and their learning, we really have to consider putting less emphasis on standardized data and more emphasis on assuring students get the supports they need in a timely manner. So when looking at data of a student's learning, we need to familiarize ourselves with the wide diversity of assessments so we can utilize each assessment most appropriately. In my opinion, the two most authentic types of data are teachers collaboratively looking at student work and data collected by the teacher in the classroom assessing students' learning. These give a teacher an immediate opportunity to provide more extensive teaching and learning immediately. Too much emphasis is put on an invalid data that is not even current. The time lapse between the date, the standardized test, the grading of the test, the documentation prior to the analysis of the data, and the implementation of addressing the data makes most standardized tests data the least helpful in increasing student achievement. That's our goal, right? Students are frequently tested on standards that haven't been fully taught in depth. Sadly, this data seems to hold a tremendous amount of weight for our parents, teachers, and our students. Standardized test data usage enables more effective evaluation of programs, curriculum resources, and interventions to facilitate schools and district success. So there is a purpose for them. Unfortunately, the different types of data are frequently confused and misappropriated. We still need to know what students have learned and how to proceed moving forward. Teachers have always relied on in-class data, such as looking at student work, quizzes, checking in, asking questions, exit tickets, independent work, presentations, etc. To help them to plan future lessons, teachers use observational data all day, every day. Right, Artie?
Recess for 6 hours and 20.
Exactly. Teachers create, although it is inconsistent, it has the tremendous advantage of being timely and accurate. Teachers created tests, have a quick turnaround and a time allowing for students' needs to be addressed swiftly. Classroom data is extremely fluid, especially in the case of our youngest learners. Students can check the right box or seem to understand the concept only to find out that there are major gaps in their understanding. It's only when a child has actually mastered a concept that a teacher can recognize an in-depth understanding and perhaps consider that data point to be more solid. Everyone's thought process is not the same. We are all wired differently. How long and how many attempts it takes for each of us to learn a concept differs tremendously. This indicates that most accurate data is current and personal, and addresses one standard at a time. When completing a test on various topics, multi-step problems with diverse assignments, it's difficult to confirm which point of understanding has been mastered and which still needs to be clarified and retaught. When teachers sit down together to look at student work, many trends can be found and implications for teaching can be shared. This is an extremely valuable use of data. It's incredibly time consuming at first, but over time, it helps professional educators become keen investigators of student understanding. This is another benefit of vertical alignment. So to not drag this on any further, I frequently write down my thoughts. I wrote this down a long time ago. It's consistent. It stands true to time. This is old as the hills, and yet we're still dealing with the same concept. So please, when we look at this data, and I know Audie's the data specialist, so please let's consider that some of the data is not as valid as others, but that data that's not as valid is very easy to collect because the children are taking it on a tablet and all of the data is already on the computer and we can just calculate it. But the data that is not looked at often enough is the classroom data, which is the most valid data. Please, let's not forget that. Thank you.
Angela, just one thing that you forgot was let's not forget the pilot questions that the state puts in that are not even on the same grade level, which then present a curveball to the kids that they start freaking out. Oh my goodness, my teacher didn't teach me this. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. And of course, Albany doesn't think of these things.
Thank you for
No problem. And just to kind of build that into what Eileen was saying, this is constant discussion. I can tell you that amongst the board and the administration, we're very, very aware, especially of all of the after effects of COVID. And I mean, I hate to say it because it's just like it always becomes an excuse. Evaluations are on the rise.
But I don't think the parents and the students are as aware of how it's affected. And that's the point that I.
Well, I think to use your point of if your checkbook is in the red, by the time Albany gets us back to state exams, they would have repossessed your house.
Exactly.
So I mean, we're approaching 8 months from Albany.
Hi, Sivan Chapman. I was actually also not going to speak today, but I just wanted to go to what Eileen was saying before. I just want to put this out there and to say, I spoke to a bunch of parents this week, and one of the things that came up was kind of presumed competence. And we're talking about ICT classes. We don't have any ICT classes for accelerated. It would be nice. There are children with IEPs that can go into accelerated. They should. So it's definitely something to think about. I know we had something last year where we talked about how many children with IEPs are in AP classes. So I think that it's something to think about to help support those kids so they can continue to accelerate.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Juliet Chapman. And recently the GCMS has redesigned the library to a new and expensive type. As someone who loves to read, I was disappointed when I heard the hours it was open. The library is open from 8 to 3:17, and that's only if the one teacher who works at the library is there in the morning. That gives students at most 15 minutes in the library because they have to start getting ready for first period. During school, even though the library is open, it is only used for classes to sit and do work maybe once a month. I suggest maybe closing the library at a later time, such as 4:30. Since most teachers won't want to stay late and stand there even when no one is there, I suggest we get high school volunteers. We can give them community service hours and they can hang out with their friends while helping. Students can get an hour after school for studying, and the library will encourage them to. Plus, they can go to 7th Street after. So, to summarize, if the GCMS library could be open after school with volunteers running it, more kids will be encouraged to read and study, especially at a place as cool and futuristic as our library. Thank you.
That was well said there, Juliet. So you just want our library to be open a little bit longer for you
Yeah.
guys. So can I make a suggestion to you? Have you spoken to Mr. Samuelson about this?
I have not.
All right. Well, you did a great job here tonight. I want you to speak to him this
Okay.
week. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. And we'll get back to you on that, see what we can do.
Julia, also, we want you, the next time the board does a panel discussion for the middle school, Stratford and high school, we expect you to be there with your great ideas.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
All right? Excellent suggestion.
Are there any other questions in the room? Okay, thank you for all your comments this evening. To make efficient use of the meeting time, the board is authorizing the use of the consent agenda as part of the meeting agenda. Consent agenda allows for one motion to approve multiple items, and such items are identified on the agenda. The president of the board will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda and will ask if any board members wish to have discussion and or clarification on specific items contained in that agenda. Following the discussion, the board will then vote on the consent agenda. In addition, a board member may request to have an item removed and voted on separately if they so choose. At this time, may I have a motion to approve consent agenda, which includes business of the board items G1 through G2, personnel matter items H1 through H12, business office matter items I1 through I10, curriculum and instruction matter item J1, and special education items K1 through K4.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
In addition, we have a few addendums to tonight's agenda. The superintendent of school the superintendent of school presents the following resolution for consideration and action by the Board of Education. Election of Area 11 Director on the NYSBA Board of Directors. Be it resolved that the Board of Education casts its vote for Margaret Marchand to fill the vacancy of Area 11 Director on the New York State School Board Association Board of Directors. The Area 11 Director term will run January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2026.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Addendum 2, authorization to appeal to the Office of State Review. Resolve the Board of Education hereby authorizes its attorney to prosecute an appeal from a decision arising from a hearing being brought pursuant to the IDEA.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Is there any new business from the board? Any new business from the administration? Future Board of Education meetings, Tuesday, October 10th, 2023 Board of Education work session here at the Garden City High School at 8:15, and then Tuesday, October 24th, 2023 Board of Education regular session at the Garden City High School at 8:15. At this time, may I have a motion that no further business of the board and that the meeting be adjourned.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.